You have to take yourself seriously and understand that whatever idea you have, if that's what you want to do, then you absolutely can do it. Trust me, if I could go back and tell young Crystal some things, I would tell her not to be distracted. Hi, everyone. I'm Crystal McDaniel, and this is The Naked Singer. Today, we're going to talk about showing up for yourself and what that means. There are so many times that we have to show up for ourselves when no one else will show up for us. We have to show up for ourselves. And I probably count this as the number one thing that I have learned over the years, that showing up for myself is the absolute most important thing that I do for me. And it's got to be the number one thing that you do for you, to show up for you. Many times I ask my students about their level of commitment, because commitment is the baseline word for showing up for yourself, that we have a commitment to ourselves just as much as we have a commitment to the other things that we have going on in our lives. And over and over and over again, I see that people will show up for their commitment to somebody else, but they won't show up for their commitment to themselves. And that is where we need to start everything. It's just like being on an airplane. You know, if they give you instructions, they say when the oxygen mask drops, put it on yourself first and then assist the other people. You don't want to not put the oxygen on for yourself, because you could pass out and then you're no help to anyone. And we've got to make sure that we are always showing up for ourselves. So what does that look like? Well, as a singer, our first commitment is, if you want that as a career, if you want performing as a career, or actually any business that you have as a career, then it has to start out with you deciding what commitment and what priority that you are going to make for yourself in order to learn that. And it doesn't matter if you are in high school, middle school, college, it really doesn't matter. It starts out with that baseline commitment to what you want. I see this all the time in students of mine. Most specifically, I have seen it in 2 or 3 students that really dedicate themselves to working hard and getting to where they want to go. Just this week, I saw a post from a student of mine. Her name is Georgia Green, and she is a dancer first. And she's been dancing since she was little, and now she's won a $100,000 scholarship for her dancing. And I mean, you can look her up on YouTube, Georgia Green. She is amazing. And she has this commitment, and she continues to do it and continues to do it, and chases down the learning situations and the dance teachers and the choreographers. She chases this down and has since she was a little girl. So her family has followed her commitment because she is that committed to it. She has gone back and forth from Florida to New York and then back home here, and has really learned and grown, and she's just absolutely amazing. And she doesn't let anything get in her way of meeting and achieving that goal that she has for herself. And I just think that is absolutely fantastic to see a young person that disciplined and that committed and that goal oriented for themselves. She works her social media. She shows up for all of these dance competitions and everything dance that she can get herself into to learn and grow. That's what Georgia does. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about being committed for yourself. Now, I understand that school, if you were under the age of 18 and even 18 through the college years, I understand how important your classes are and how you have to get this homework done, and that way you can graduate with a high school diploma and you can graduate with your college degree. I get the importance of all of that. However, if you want to have a career that is performance oriented or a business that needs to grow, you do not have to wait until you are out of that before you make that a priority. You can make that a priority for yourself now. You can do that work for yourself now. And that commitment is really the best thing and the best gift you can give to yourself. Now, my other student, Sky Smith, who is the personal trainer. I've had her on the podcast before. She's a personal trainer and nutritionist and has this booming, growing business. And so the moment she graduated college, she walked out into her own business where she has her own line of fitness wear, and she has all these clients that she is working with to help them with nutrition and fitness. And one of the reasons that she could walk straight into owning her own business is because 3 years prior, while she was still in college, she was working that business. She was figuring it out. She was asking the questions, and she was putting herself in line to build clientele and get herself out there so that by the time she graduated, she's got this built-in business that she doesn't have to depend on anybody for. She works her social media. She has her website. She has an app. She has the whole entire thing going on. So we do not have to wait to achieve these dreams and these goals. We have to treat ourselves like a business, and we have to start thinking, what do we need to do in order to get our business out there and to get ourselves out there? And how do we make that commitment, and how do we make that a priority? So here's something that I have figured out. You know, when I was in college, I was very scattered. I didn't always have the mindset to be responsible. I allowed distractions to get in my way so that I didn't achieve the goals that I immediately wanted to achieve. But at the same time, I need to let you know also that we didn't have a lot of the tools, or even any of the tools that you guys have today, that could have possibly helped me. But at the same time, I allowed distractions to keep me from moving forward in my goals. So now that I'm older and I see that there are things that actually have to be done, one of the things that I have to do and make the priority is to decide and write down. I write it down. I have plenty of paper and journaling that I do, and I write down my ideas. I write down the things that I want to achieve, and then I start working on a plan as to how I'm going to do that. For instance, with my social media, I have an everyday social media calendar that I follow. And I take a class on social media so that I can make sure that I understand how to do these things. I make that a priority, and that's the first priority that I have. I am very dedicated and committed to making sure that this podcast gets done so that it can drop on Monday morning. So that's part of the process. So how can you make sure that you do that? First, you need to be open to learning. You need to decide what you want to do. And then how are you going to go about doing that exact thing? So it's about learning and figuring out the steps that are going to help you. So for me, how do I get my business out there more? How do I continue learning more so that I can bring more to my students and bring more to this podcast? Those are questions that I ask myself. I also use, the how, when, what, why, where, how many questions that I need, so that I know that I need, as I am putting down this prioritized list and making different goals priorities, I answer all of those questions so that I know how to put things out there for myself. And then I start setting goals to be able to meet, to do that. Now, my overall goal, I sort of push over to the side, because after I set the overall goal, I don't want to sit and stare at it the whole time, because there's a difference between knowing you have the goal and then filling in the blanks in between where you are now and getting to that goal. And that's where the journey is important. It's where you go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3. It's the everyday work that is the most important thing that you can do in order to meet that ultimate goal for yourself. And even when you get it and you get to that ultimate goal, you're going to reset another goal, because we should always be continuing and changing and growing, and not be afraid to do that, and not be afraid to step into the unknown, because the unknown really isn't unknown. It is something that you might not know, but there's going to be somewhere out there that does know. My favorite tool is Google, and I hear that all the time. So it's like, okay, well, if I don't know it, I'm going to Google it, and I'm going to start researching. I put the questions out on YouTube, because there's so many how-to videos on YouTube. So usually I can find something about the subject matter that can at least get me started, which means that you can do that same thing too. How do you get started? How do you put yourself into a place of seeing yourself as a business and then start marching towards that goal? You have to take yourself seriously and understand that whatever idea you have, if that's what you want to do, then you absolutely can do it. Because here's the thing, there are many people on TikTok that have thousands and thousands and thousands of followers, and they're getting paid to do some of the content that they're putting out there. And honestly, some of that content is crazy. So, at least in my opinion, some of it is absolutely crazy. So, I'm like, if they can get paid to do that, then I can certainly get paid to put the content that I have out there and the talent that I have out there. And I can start working a plan and taking that seriously. And that's what I want to do. So that's the first step that you need to do for yourself, is to start learning how in the world do you even create what you want in the first place. And there's like the how, when, why, where questions, the questions that you need to fill out. And it needs to be something that you're really excited and passionate about. It doesn't need to be something that you're like, well, I could do this. I'm a person that firmly is a let me word it a different way, because I'm about to stutter through all of this. I don't believe in backup plans. I'm just not a believer in backup plans. I don't want to put myself in a position of needing a backup plan. And this is why. I don't give myself a backup plan, because that means that I'm not going to continually do the work that gets me to my ultimate plan. If I have a backup plan, I can always quit. And I don't want to quit. Now, I suppose backup plans work for some people, and that's great. All power to you. But for me, if I had a backup plan for my life and for what I do and how I make money, I wouldn't be as effective to be able to do what I do. I wouldn't continue to grow. I wouldn't go through the frustrations. And so I want to put my passion forward in order to help other people. And that's what I do in the studio. That's what I do here on this podcast. That's what I try to do in my life, cuz my thinking is if I help someone to succeed, then I can't help but to succeed myself. And I find that to be really a way that I want to spend my time in my life is teaching and helping other people succeed and encouraging them in that route to succeed. And that's why I have the studio, and that's why my students tend to be successful, because of the fact that I will put all my effort and all my passion into that and into them, and I will show up for them as long as they continue to show up for themselves. I want for them what they want. And even if they aren't in my studio anymore, I continue to show up for my students. I find that to be a really big deal for me to carry through my life. I love to build relationships with my students. I really love my students. And to love somebody means that it doesn't matter if they're doing what you want them to do or think they should do at all. It means that you love them and you want the best for them. And if they feel that there's something better for them and they're passionate about that, then that's what they need to do. Hey, Skylar Smith, she talked about that when she was here on the podcast, how she found she loves singing and she loves performing and she hasn't given up on that. However, she found that this business of being a personal trainer and her Limitless Activewear and her Sky Smith Fit, she just found that to be a passion for her. And so she works that. So I would rather collaborate with somebody like that and support Sky in her walk and show how great that she is, because she's great whether she sings or not. All of my students are great whether they sing or not. It's just that most of them happen to want to do that. So I'm here to help them reach that particular goal. Now, the next thing you need to know, and my second point in this, is you cannot be wishy-washy. Not in anything that you do. And what I mean by wishy-washy is 1 minute is like, well, I might show up. I may be there. Well, I'm thinking about this. I just don't know. Maybe I might show up. I don't know. And sometimes I write down that I'm going to practice and then I don't show up to do that. And because it just was more fun to go to the movie with my friends, and I get discouraged when I'm in practicing. I hear you. I totally hear you. After 26 years of running this studio, I have heard it all. And I'm here to tell you, you cannot be wishy-washy with people or with yourself. Wishy-washy is my number one pet peeve. I just absolutely cannot stand someone that's going to be wishy-washy. And it's not the person that I can't stand, it's the wishy-washiness. You need to actually say, yes, I will be there, and commit. This goes back to number one. If you are wishy-washy, you are not committing. You want a way for somebody to guarantee you it's going to work out and be great. And nobody can guarantee that. Nobody can. You need to just commit and show up and see what you get out of it and see what you learn and see if you fall on your face. Okay, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean that you weren't good at it. That means you need to keep showing up and committing more, because you'll get stronger and stronger and stronger. And one day you won't fall on your face. But you can't be afraid of not committing just because you're worried that you won't do well, because you're predicting that you won't do well. And I don't know one person on this planet that can really predict the future. You can't predict that. So if you're afraid of something that you're projecting, and you're in your mind and you're running this little movie, well, I'm probably not good enough and I'm going to fail. And that's why I might do it, I might not. Or when I walk out on the stage, I'm not going to commit fully to the singing and fully to the story, because what if I don't do a good job? I'm going to challenge that. What if you do? What if it's great? Can you play a movie that works out in your mind instead of playing the one that is always about defeat and failure? That's something you got to think about. Can we start deciding that failure isn't the end of the world? And if you fail one time, it means nothing. You are going to fail thousands of times before you get to the level of success that you want. So you might as well make up your mind that failure is not a big deal. It's not a big deal. And here's another little just caveat off to the side of that. Quit being afraid of being embarrassed and humiliated. Nobody likes it. It's uncomfortable. Yes, people may laugh. I have been in situations before where I have been totally embarrassed and felt so very humiliated. I can't even begin to tell you. I was in front of my colleagues one day and I was doing a competition and I had worked, but I sucked myself out and I sang and sang and sang and sang and sang all day long to where I wore my voice out because I was so afraid I was going to forget things. And then I got up in front of my colleagues, some of which that were judging the situation, and I was dressed beautifully. I had all of my numbers. Everything was going to be okay. And then my voice wouldn't come out because I wore it out because I was so afraid. And horror of horrors, I left my water backstage and I started to walk off and get water and come back out on the stage. And they had an invisible door. So when the stage door shut, it looks like the wall, and it just blended in the wall. And I couldn't find the door. So I went up and down the stage wall, knocking on the wall, hoping I was going to find the door at some point. And all of this was happening, and I had just been humiliated singing. I sounded like a frog stuck in something, or a pig stuck in something. And then I was banging on the wall. Yes, it was bad. Yes, it was humiliating. Yes, I cried all night long. And then I had to go the next day and face all of them for another event. And you know what? Not a one of them came up to me and said anything negative. Most of them came up to me and told me how beautiful I looked, which I thought was very kind. And none of them avoided me. They treated me kindly and with compassion. And I'm thankful to those colleagues for that. But did I feel humiliated, embarrassed? Yes. Did I stop singing after that? No. I got better. And I have been paid in roles and I've been in shows. So that one humiliating moment, I survived and went on and got back up and dusted myself off and went, okay, how can I make it better? And that's what you've got to do. You've got to continually get up, show up. Don't be wishy-washy just because you're afraid. Commit. Either say, yes, I'm going to do it, or no, I'm not. Either show up to the practice room and do the practice that you know you need so that when you show up at your lesson or show up at that audition, you have your act together and you have no excuse. And then you can't beat yourself up mentally and say, well, if I just practiced or if I'd put the time into it, so put the time into it. The answer is don't be wishy-washy with yourself or with others. With yourself or with others. Give them a yes and let your yes be yes and your no be no. And that's the end of it. Don't say, well, I need to wait because blah, 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 blah. Don't say that. Or I'm not sure what's happening between now and then. Be sure of what's happening. Find out and then make a decision. I'm going to say that again. Find out and make a decision. Whether it's yes, I'm going to, or no, I'm not. But make sure that you get the work done that you need, because your business is the priority. Singing needs to be your priority if that's what you want. It needs to be your priority. If you want to be able to make money at it, you've got to do what professionals do. And professionals are professional, and they get paid for it because they put the work in every single day. You don't get paid for the show. You get paid for all the work and practice you did behind the scenes to get the role to do the show. That's what that contract is for. And you've got to understand that if you don't do the work, then you're not going to have the business that you want. There's not a business out there that thrives that doesn't do the work and doesn't show good results. That's how you get it done. So you got to make sure that you show up for yourself. You got to make sure that you stop the wishy-washy. You got to ask yourself, how many times am I wishy-washy? And that's something that's got to stop immediately. Don't make an excuse. Ask yourself, am I making an excuse to keep myself? Am I using this as a distraction to stop myself? Trust me, if I could go back and tell young Crystal some things, I would tell her not to be distracted by all of that. Not be distracted by family drama. Not be distracted by what daddy wants or what mama wants or what sister or brother wants. To keep my eye on what I need for myself. And to not listen to anything but what God said to me and God placed into me to begin with. That's what needs to happen. So our last thing here that we're going to get on, the last point, is to make that plan. And I talked about that earlier, but make that plan. Use a day planner. If you're not a day planner person, use a notebook. If you're not a notebook person and that doesn't help you, use your phone. Phones have calendars on them. And if you have trouble remembering, because I know that there are a lot of people that are ADHD and they have trouble remembering things. So if that's the case, use alarms. My husband has ADHD and he sets alarms for everything to remind him, I've got to do these things. These things are important. So he's probably got 1,000 reminders set for alarms to go off to remind him. My son Jacob does that. But there is no excuse for you not to make a plan. There is no excuse for you not to send somebody a direct message. They may or may not answer. But how would you know if you don't send the direct message? You might want to know from Audra McDaniel how she does it, or Kelly O'Hara, or you might want to know from Pink how she does it, or, whoever you admire in the style of music that you do. How do you know that they won't answer your direct message? How do you know that they won't say to you, well, this is what I did? But I've got to tell you, in the music industry, more times than not, the story of one person might be helpful to inspire you, but everybody's journey is different. Everybody's journey is completely different. So you have to learn to give yourself your own leg up in this industry. You have to get out there and you have to meet people. You have to actually introduce yourself. You have to know how to dress, and you have to know how to communicate. You have to know how to write emails. That's really important on how you write emails and how you contact people. You must learn how to deal with social media and make sure you're representing yourself well on social media. That's important. Your lighting is important, your wording is important, your the way you start out something, a hook that grabs people's attention, that's important. All of those things are important, and they help you learn to run your business. And you can't do that unless you have a plan. Having a business plan, or at least just some simple steps that you want to follow through. But as you're doing that, that plan, which is towards your business and working your business, is different than you doing the work behind the scenes in the practice and in how to perform and in your lessons that make sure that when you put it out in public, it's a really good product. So you have to study what is a really good product for somebody. And you don't want to put just anything out there. You need people on your side. Like me and what I do in my job, I screen a lot of videos for people so they can know, yes, this is really great and it's presentable. Or no, don't do that. This is too dark. This is too busy. Whatever, whatever that the case may be on that. I screen a lot of them so I know what people are looking for. And that's part of my job, to make sure that the students that I have, or whoever wants to contact me for that, they get a good feedback so that they know if they need to change anything or if everything is good to post, because you want to represent yourself really well when you're putting your work out there. And that's important. And that's some of the work that you have to do behind the scenes in order, when you're in front of people, that it looks really good. As a singer, if you are a singer-songwriter, or if you're, whatever you do, there's a lot of bars and a lot of restaurants and a lot of festivals and a lot of coffee shops that you can start getting recordings to and approaching them and sending them emails so that you can perform there. And that's important, because then you start putting yourself out there and making that paycheck. Now, I'm going to tell you, when you do those things, it's not a really big paycheck, but it at least starts giving you the upfront performance venues. And you can always direct message me and ask me how to do some of these things, because I'm easy to get a hold of. You can find me on Instagram at Naked Singer Blog. You can DM me on TikTok at The Naked Singer. You can DM me on LinkedIn at The Naked Singer. There's a Facebook page at Naked Singer Blog. There's multiple ways that you can find me and ask me questions, and I'm happy to help you. So we can come up with a plan that will help you. We can come up with a way to get you to improve. If you haven't had voice lessons, then let me tell you, you need them. If you are a singer, you need them. And I don't care what style that you have. And, a lot of people will go, well, Crystal does a lot of Broadway. Yeah, I do. I do a lot of Broadway. Well, that's because a lot of my students want to go in that direction. It doesn't mean I don't do country, because I have a lot of country singers too that work in Nashville. So I can help you. That's a part of what I do. Do I do pop? Yes. Why, yes, I do. Can I do opera? Why, yes, I can. I can cover the genres, and I'm more than happy to help you to be able to learn to do it in the simplest, easiest, healthiest manner that you possibly can. I can help you break all of that down. But I'm more than happy if you reach out and ask, I'm more than happy to help. That's what I'm here for. That's why I do this business. And that's what my passion is. And that's what I love. So I've broken that down a little bit in several steps for you so that you can be encouraged to show up for yourself, because this is what you have to do. If you need that business plan, you need to have a direction, just let us know. We're glad to sit down and do a consultation with you and help you walk through how to do that. I won't do a consultation unless I hear a recording of you. So there's some requirements on that, and we can discuss it in the direct message, because that's something that I'm not going to just help anybody if I haven't helped them and made sure that their package all the way around, from the way they sound, from the way they look, is good to go. I'm not going to do it. So you do have to come through the studio, but other than that, I am more than happy to help you get on your way. Students I have, I'm so proud of you. You guys are awesome. And we had a get together this past Friday night at the dessert bar here in Boiling Springs, and man, did we have a good time. The poor customers that came in while we were in there doing our paint party probably thought we were so obnoxious because we were singing to everything that came on the station we were listening to, and we just had a blast. Thank you, CJ White and the staff at the dessert bar, because you made it great for us, and so did Jessica, the lady that brought in the paint supplies for us. We just had such a good time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. There's a fun video on at the Naked Singer on my TikTok that you can watch. It's also on Instagram on the Reels. And you can also find Jennifer Wall. She's my social media person. She's in charge of my social media. And she has a TikTok called at the Modest Tater. And she is absolutely hysterical. And we talked her into putting a TikTok up. So she's just now starting that. But she did interviews with some of the students, and it's really funny. So go and visit that. Remember, the first Saturday in August, we're going to be starting Energize Sing. Not energizing, Energize, ENERGI-sing. And that is an exercise class to help singers know and have body awareness and know how to use energy when you sing. It's going to be led by me and Sky Smith with Sky Smith Fit. It's going to be at Core Fit in Kings Mountain. We would love to have you come. $10 per person taking the class. We also ask that you come prepared with a song, because you're going to have to sing and do some of the exercises at the exact same time. So make sure that you come. Let us know you're going to be in the class. It is going to be absolutely great. So you can DM me or Sky about that. And other than that, we're done for the day. This has been wonderful. Thanks for listening. As always, I'm Crystal McDaniel, and this is The Naked Singer.